Welcome to Philanthropy SA. This is a podcast about and for the philanthropic community in San Antonio and South Texas. We introduce organizations and people who are making an impact in the community. Beneficent Financial is proud to sponsor this podcast, and it is our hope that you enjoy this conversation about the impact we can have. The goal is to edify and inspire. Now please join our host, Dan Rebmann.
Thanks for joining us today on Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Rebmann, and very pleased to be joined today by Margaret Judson, the Executive Director at School Connect San Antonio, or School Connect SA.
School Connect SA.
There we go, School Connect SA. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're glad to have you. So we're going to be talking about School Connect and all the great stuff you do in a minute. But first, tell us about you. And you are now the third person that I've interviewed that's native to San Antonio. Everybody else has come from someplace else. And tell us your story.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised in San Antonio. I'm a sixth generation San Antonian. And so I've been here for a while. However, I had a time when I was away. And so I got my start in Washington, D.C. I worked on Capitol Hill for two congressmen from this area, Congressman Tom Loeffler and Lamar Smith. And that's where I met my husband, was on Capitol Hill. And he happened to also be from San Antonio. So we eventually decided to move back home, and that's the story.
There you go. You know, when you say Capitol Hill and all that, I'm thinking of that old Schoolhouse Rock song. You know, I'm just a bill. Anyway, I'm not going to sing, but anyway. And instead of, you found a husband on Capitol Hill.
I did.
There we go. And the best part about that is you, are very proud of that. That's a good thing. I mean, a lot of people would say, well, I met him in Washington, D.C., and, So.
No, it was a great thing. It was a very small office, and actually 4 couples out of that office got married.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yep. It was amazing.
Okay. Now I just want to take the whole discussion in a different direction, but we'll pass on that for right now. So obviously you got to start in politics and that type of thing. I know, you've been on school boards and that kind of thing as well. What made you decide that, you wanted to do something outside of the, in the public service realm or in the realm of serving others?
About 5 years ago, I was contacted by a nonprofit here. And they asked me if I would host a series of listening sessions between public schools and the faith community to see if there was any overlap between those two. And so we held a series of sessions beginning really with urban core. We met with educators from the South Side, the West Side, East Side, and in the downtown area over about a 2-month period. And what we found out in those sessions is people were largely operating in silos. So the schools didn't realize that there were summer camps literally right down the street that were happening with their students. And I think the most powerful story for me was we had an administrator from South San, and she said, we had a really big issue in our school, and it was a very difficult situation, and we really needed help. But at that time, when you're in a crisis situation, you don't have time to go out and find the help that you need. And what to me was really tragic about that situation is there was help all around that school community. But at that time, I realized people really weren't communicating. They weren't in partnership with one another. And so that set us on a path of determining what can we bring to San Antonio? How can we bring those communities together and keep them from operating in silos? So we looked at a program in Houston, Texas, and thought maybe that would be a partnership to bring. But we thought something more that would bring the entire community in. And we found this model in Phoenix, Arizona. So School Connect was started in Phoenix, Arizona over 10 years ago. And we were the first city outside of Phoenix to bring it into another community. And what was neat about that is I attended their summit over 5 years ago. They have 800 people on their floor. And that really got us started working. And so that's really where I started. I've always been really engaged and really interested in philanthropy. I mean, that was just kind of part of who I was, and belonged to a church that was really mission oriented. And so that's really where I cut my teeth on doing nonprofit work, just really at the grassroots level. And from there, went on some mission trips that were really pivotal in my life, serving in Guatemala. And from there, just the political realm, and then just coming back and being a part of our community. So that's really kind of where I got my start, was bringing those two worlds together. And it's been an incredible experience.
Yeah, I've found that a lot of people's faith informs their philanthropy. In terms of the way that they approach it and kind of what motivates them to do it and that type of thing. So regardless of whether the philanthropy itself is, secular or within the church or ministries or that type of thing, but it's not uncommon for that to be a driving force in that. So you kind of introduced us a little bit to School Connect in terms of this program in Arizona. Tell us about it and tell us what drew you and what made you think, hey, this is something that is going to work in San Antonio.
Well, we just knew, based on what I just said about people operating in silos, and we came back and we thought, let's spend some time finding out if this is already happening in San Antonio. And what we realized, it wasn't happening. So we thought, let's come back and pilot this. And the colleague that went with me to Phoenix, Arizona to check it out, he is the one who said, let's go to Northside School District. Let's start with Dr. Woods. So Dr. Brian Woods was the superintendent of Northside. And when he heard about this idea, he said, you bet, we will pilot this. How many schools do you want? Do you want 20? And we're like, well, it's a pilot. Maybe we'll just start with 10. And so he gave us a broad variety of schools to begin with. And so that's where we started.
Very good. So talk to us a little bit about the model. I mean, so you're about bringing together, you already mentioned silos, and I'm assuming breaking those down is, a big piece of this. But what are the kind of groups that you find that you need to be talking to and communicating with to make all this happen?
Well, the number one group that we begin with are principals. So the principals really have to want to bring this onto their campus. It's not something that you can force on people. So if they are interested in community partnerships and want to try this model, that's where we begin. And then usually we ask them to identify a champion, a school champion on that campus. That can be a third grade teacher. It can be a counselor, maybe an assistant vice principal. We understand and know that our principals have a lot on their plate. So this is not one other thing that we want to add to their plate. And usually they know right off the bat who that school champion is. Also, some school districts have what they call family and community engagement specialists, and those also are a natural fit as well. So that's where we begin, and we start training those individuals on how to bring community partnerships into their school. And we have training, and we provide them with a toolkit and give them the resources that they need to identify those partners. And we identify partners from the faith, the nonprofit, the business community, government leaders, neighborhood community leaders like people from the fire department, the Bexar County Constable's Office, parent leaders. Every school has a parent who's a leader on that campus, and also student leaders. And so that's where we begin. And really the secret sauce of School Connect is the cafe model. And so that's bringing all these community partners together all at one time, convening them on that campus and starting a conversation and really understanding and getting to know a little bit about that school environment and the challenges and maybe some of the needs, and helping people really understand about the challenges in our local schools. I think oftentimes people really don't understand what is happening in our schools. And when they come on a campus and get to see that, it really kind of helps demystify some of those challenges that they're facing.
Sure. And so School Connect's role in that is to be the facilitator of these cafes?
Yes. Well, so we train them. And what's neat about this model is we really train people to do this model on their own. So we really want that to be a self-sustaining partnership between those community partners and their schools. So they bring them in, the cafe, and they host that at least twice a year. And then what we've been doing these past few years is we've been hosting a district-wide cafe, bringing everybody to the campus. To Northside Activity Center. That's where we've been holding it. And it's a district-wide cafe with all the schools that have been involved in School Connect, along with their community partners. And we have conversations over that. And then we also present some community panels and also help people to see current partnerships that are working. And there's just really neat partnerships that have come through this model. And then the second thing we do is Love Our School Day. That's an annual event. It's usually on a Saturday, and it's where we bring everyone, the students, the faculty, the community partners, everyone to do a one-day project on the school, whether it's kind of gardening or refurbishing the teacher's lounge. It's just really kind of fun, hands-on activities for everyone.
Gotcha. And so you're still with the 10 schools in Northside right now?
Well, this past year, we trained all the family specialists and in their Title I schools. So that was 25 family specialists. And so we are continuing to grow that model. And this next year, we're hoping to expand outside of the Title I schools and just open it up to all schools who are interested. And in fact, next month, we are going to have a lunch and learn for principals just to come and find out what School Connect is all about and if they want to do that and take the next step.
Very good. For our folks who aren't familiar, what's a Title I school?
A Title I school, those are schools that are below the poverty line, and so they qualify for special funding from the federal government. But with that comes quite a few guidelines of how they can use that money. Gotcha.
Yeah. My daughter teaches at a Title I school, so I'm a little familiar with the programs. But yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of neat stuff that you get, but it comes with some baggage. So that's the other side of it. So right now you're there. Are you ready to reach out to other school districts and expand the program that way? Or are you?
Oh, yes. Well, we have been in Northside School District, Alma Heights, and SAISD.
Gotcha.
So we've been in all those school districts, and several of the schools in each one of those districts have been exposed to School Connect and have participated and used the cafe model. They participated in our district-wide cafe. And so in fact, just this next week, I'm going to be visiting with another school district here in Bexar County. Our goal is to really reach all the school districts in Bexar County because especially coming back after COVID, you can tell that people are really there's so many tremendous needs in our community. And what people don't realize is all those needs are showing up not only on the doorsteps of our public schools, but into the classrooms. And there's significant challenges, not only mental health challenges, but food insecurity, the learning. We're really behind in learning. So all those things come together in the classroom, and it's a lot for a teacher to take on. And so if we as the community can gather and rally around these schools and help them in really meaningful ways, it's a game changer.
Absolutely. Now, do you receive direct federal funding for your program?
No direct funding. So it's just totally, I raise money from local foundations and individuals, and I do have one church that supports.
Very good. So is this a situation where even private schools could use?
Yeah, it's open to anyone. All schools. I think all schools face challenges, and I have neat stories from school districts that you would really be surprised. There's need in every one of our school districts in San Antonio. And I think that's what people don't realize sometimes when you think North Side, you think, oh, wow, they have everything. Well, no, there are pockets in every one of our public schools in San Antonio. And not to mention, we just need to, I feel, public schools are the foundation of democracy, and we have got to support and maintain those public schools, and they're going to be educating 95% of our population. That is our future workforce, and it's important that we value that and we support that and we come alongside of it. And unfortunately, I think especially these past few years, our public schools have been really beat up, and the people that are experiencing that the most are our teachers in the classrooms. It's been very challenging. So to really open up the community and say there's ways that we can serve and come alongside is powerful. I think that's what our message is.
Very good. So in terms of looking at this picture, give us an example of something where a resource has been identified that a school didn't know about that was, either whether it's from business or a nonprofit or something like that, where you brought, where through the cafe or through your linking these organizations, somebody was able to come alongside and help a school out.
Well, one of my favorite examples, I have lots of examples, especially after this year. I feel like this year's been the first normal year for a while. So it's been neat to see people really re-engaging, and really there's such a need and a desire for community. But my favorite story is we have a local elementary school. In fact, it's right down the street. And their counselor is the one who went through the school champion training. So we do train those school champions. And, some people take that training and they just run with it. And that's what she did. So in the middle of last school year, there was a group of fifth grade boys who continued to have discipline issues and were showing up in the principal's office on a pretty much a weekly basis. And they got together and they were like, we've got to figure something out. So one of the things they thought they could do for these young boys is provide after-school enrichment programming. And, at this particular school, it did cost. There was a fee associated with that. And they thought, wow, I wonder if we could do something that these young boys could really relate to. So they went and asked a local bakery if they could provide cooking classes, which they did. And there was a guitar store down the street, and they provided some guitar lessons. This was all at the school immediately after school. And then the third thing they did is they brought the counselor was dating a football coach at Incarnate Word and asked if they would be interested. And so they were. So these young football players in the spring of last year came every Wednesday to this school and mentored and held a football clinic. And what happened is the discipline problems immediately dropped off because those boys were being mentored by these young men, and they knew they were accountable, that they were able to go to that clinic after school, and they looked forward to that. And what happened is those college kids were like, we like doing this so much. Can we now mentor in the classroom? So this past school year, that counselor got to go and visit with the entire football team this time at the beginning of the school year and told them what this was about and told them this is going to be a commitment because these kiddos really rely on you to be there every week. And afterwards, several of the players came up and said, I have class. I'm not going to be able to do the after-school clinic, but can I mentor or can I come and sit with them during lunch? And so that's what they've done. And to hear their stories from both these young men and the kids in fifth grade and the difference it made in each of their lives was just so powerful. And I thought that to me just represents what community is all about, bringing people together. Those college kids would know that there was a need at a local elementary school. And those kiddos were just so impacted by these players. So this past spring, just in April, it was really neat because those kids from the elementary school got to go to the spring football game at Incarnate Word and see their players in action. And they just treated them like they were rock stars. So it's just a beautiful story. It's a win-win for everyone. I think that the guys from Incarnate Word got probably more out of it than the kids. But they've been really inspired by that and encouraged. And in fact, we made a video of that. And they were really challenging everyone to go out and serve in your school and the difference that you can make by
That's
just giving
awesome.
yourself. So yeah. I think that to me is a really powerful story of something that was the most unlikely thing, but really, really benefited everyone.
No, that's great. It is. And we know that, the act of giving and the act of serving in this way, frequently you get more, the emotional reinforcement that you get from that personally, can be so much greater. You feel like it's greater than what you're actually doing for the other person frequently. So that's not unique to that. But that's a great example of the type of thing that can happen. We're going to take a break now and hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Many of you out there care deeply about wanting to make an impact on the world around you. You want to help take care of the people and organizations that are important to you. We understand that because we feel the same way. Beneficent Financial wants to help you. Our mission is to help people like you with professional, individualized financial advice achieve their objectives. Whether your financial legacy will stay within your family or benefit the community at large, we are able to help. Call Beneficent Financial today at 210-9 888-999-5511. In addition to traditional wealth management, we offer philanthropic services such as direct donations of required minimum distributions, donor-advised funds, and foundations. Call 210-999-5511 or go online to beneficentfinancial.net. Let us help you do well so you can do good. Securities offered through Momentum Independent Network, member SIPC/FINRA.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Dan Rebmann, host of Philanthropy SA, and I'm joined by Margaret Judson, the Executive Director of School Connect SA. So we've been talking, Margaret, about School Connect and all the cool things going on there and what's going on. What if somebody says, hey, I want to get involved in this and I want to help? How should they reach out to you?
They can reach out to us on our website, schoolconnectsa.org, and you can read a little bit more about School Connect, but on that second page, I think there is a link that you can say, this is where I'm interested in serving. I'm either a nonprofit or a business or a church, and I want to learn more about how to get engaged. And we have some neat upcoming events. Yeah. And one of those is we are going to do a STEM cafe in October. We're partnering with SAMSAT, and it's going to be hosted at SAMSAT, San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology at Port San Antonio, which is an incredible facility, an incredible place for our community. And I'm excited about that because we're going to bring students and their teachers directly to SAMSAT and have a cafe, which is using that same model I talked about earlier, and bringing industry leaders, people that are working in that space to sit down and have a conversation with those students and their teachers from various schools in San Antonio. So that's exciting.
That is. So you can find out about all of those types of things on your website, I'm assuming?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's perfect. And wanted to now kind of shift the conversation and talk about it as somebody who's bringing this model from another city where it was, effective, and then trying to transplant it to San Antonio and that type of thing. Talk about some of the challenges and things there, because I know folks that are involved with, nonprofits that have an imprint, in other parts of the country and that type of thing. And sometimes that, the ability to speak to somebody who's doing this someplace else is great. And then sometimes they're in a situation that's different and it doesn't, it's hard to directly apply some of those same lessons.
Right. I think the biggest challenge that I've seen is most of the other School Connects throughout the country are a part of another organization. So they're on a platform with another nonprofit in their community, or they're tied with the school district directly, or they're tied with the foundation. And so School Connect, when it started in San Antonio and still to this day, is a freestanding organization. And that presents a bit of a challenge because, so you're out raising money, but you're also pushing your programming and organizing that. And so that has, for me, has probably been the greatest challenge. And also education. Sometimes I feel like there's a challenge in our community with education and maybe not putting that as a priority in our community. And it needs to be, because that is our future workforce in San Antonio. So I really feel like we've got to highlight education, the challenges, but also the good that is happening in our schools, both public and private, all our local schools. That is our hope for our future, are in those schools. And so for me, that is a little bit of a challenge because I think there's some communities that just rally behind education. And I don't see that so much maybe in San Antonio.
Okay, and what types of things are you seeing other places that you wish was going on in San Antonio?
Well, I would say probably corporate support of education in a really direct way. I think people get involved maybe more through their donations, but what we really want to do is have the people connection, people really connecting in the schools, becoming mentors, becoming reading buddies. I spoke with the school district just last week. They have no mentors. I mean, I just find that really sad. We have so many people in our community that can come alongside. And what a difference that would make once a week to have somebody sitting with a child, reading with them or helping them with their homework. And I see little pockets of hope, though, of people who are really getting outside of the box and making that happen. But I would love to see our whole community really rally behind education.
Understood.
K through 12 specifically. Gotcha.
And so, you mentioned the challenge of having to raise funds and then manage programs and all that type of thing. And of course, executive directors, CEOs of nonprofits, wear many hats. So that's always the case. So, in the development realm and in that area, what's been some of the things that you found either work really well or something that you're like, okay, I'm not doing that again?
Well, I really think that the most important part has been the relationship developing, really developing a relationship with those funders and with people in our community. I can't say that enough. And I think that's the part that I really enjoy is getting to know people and understanding their needs and also just really sharing with them about School Connect and the possibilities. And so that to me has been, I really enjoyed that part of it. The challenge is and we're kind of unique in that sense. I'm not going to go the gala route or that kind of route. We're going to just really stay in this space of School Connect, of the STEM Cafe. And then we're going to have an education summit in January of 2025, where we're going to bring that and really open that up citywide and invite all our schools and community leaders and business leaders to this event. And I think that is going to be an incredible opportunity for us to highlight the good and really bring this issue to the forefront in our community.
Yeah, no, I can see where that would be good. Let me ask you in terms of, I've had people from multiple organizations on talk about collaboration and partnering and that type of thing. What has been your experience in that?
It's been great. I have to say, San Antonio, there's a lot of collaboration and people are so open to doing that. And that is such a key part of what School Connect is about. So we have established some amazing partnerships with smaller nonprofits in San Antonio and with the San Antonio Police Department. We partner with them and are a part of the work that they're doing in schools. Every cafe that we have, the district-wide cafe, I have a panel of community partners. So I try to highlight different ones that we're working with, everything from people who are working in the mental health space to, like I said, our police department, businesses that have come into public schools who are really super engaged, and then just different ministries who are operating with the food insecurity or in the mental health space. And, we have an incredible community of partnerships in San Antonio. And it's neat to be able to bring them in to those conversations and helping them to better understand how they can be a part of the solution. And just this past year, I've seen partners just right down the street from one of the schools that we have, a church. And this pastor, it's a very small church, but every month she brings a huge box of snacks to the school and brings them and leaves them with the family specialist. And little does she know, those snacks are used every day by students who forget their lunch and sometimes by teachers. And so it's just little partnerships that are happening. And it's really neat to see once you train people and help them understand those are community partners. And we know that every school within a 1 to 3 mile radius has partners right outside their door and helping them to identify and bring those in. And that's the beauty of this model. It's not about donations or fundraising. It's about relationships and building partnerships. So,
very good. So let's talk about anything that you want to talk about that I didn't ask you.
Oh, I think you've done a great job of asking me questions. I can't think of anything else. Just
buttering up the host is always a good idea.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everybody knows that out there. So.
No, you've done a great job. I just want people to know about School Connect. And if your school is interested in learning more, you can also go to the website as well. And we love to meet with schools who are interested and school districts. And our plan is to expand this for every school district to have that opportunity to be exposed to this model and to bring their community partners into their schools in a really meaningful and self-sustaining way.
That would be great. Well, on behalf of Philanthropy SA, I want to thank you, Margaret, for being with us today. It's been fun. And I want to remind our audience to do well so you can do good.
Thank you for joining us at Philanthropy SA. We hope you found something to inspire you during today's conversation. If you know organizations and people who are making an impact in the community, we would love to hear about it. Until next time, do well so you can do good.